Okay, so we are going live now on YouTube. So good evening, everyone. This is Devasis Kumar Panda, co-founder team Lex Cognoscenti. I welcome you all on behalf of my team to this edition of Lex Cognoscenti's Rendezvous series. Before I interview the eminent guest of this evening, I must tell you the purpose behind organizing this series. The basic vision behind the interview series is to facilitate and provide the legal fraternity with some invaluable anecdotes and escapades of several legal luminaries and doings. Experiences are invaluable and non inheritable. Yet, these precious anecdotes must be shared and preserved to serve as guiding lights for the generations to come. We truly believe that stories of struggles, legal adventures, and unequal display of skills of advocacy must be conveyed to all the members of fraternity, more specifically the budding ones. Above all, our endeavor is to create some positivity and motivation amidst these toxic circumstances and environment that are prevailing these days due to the global pandemic COVID-19. Now, I would like to introduce our today's guest, Mr. Gautam Mukherji, who is an illustrious senior advocate who is litigating for more than 3 decades in the Orissa High Court and appears before the Supreme Court of India, Bombay High Court, Madras High Court, Calcutta High Court, Andhra Pradesh High Court, and in various other high courts regularly. He also represents his clients in National Company Law Tribunal, National Green Tribunal, Debts Recovery Tribunal, and in several other tribunals and before other authorities. He has dealt with multifarious cases which include a wide range of laws like constitutional law, arbitration law, civil laws, property laws, land acquisition laws, banking laws, corporate and company laws, tax laws, etc. He has also handled a number of cases pertaining to a number of corporate clients and public sector undertakings like Life Insurance Corporation of India, Hutco Limited, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, Hindustan Copper Limited, and a number of banks like Canara Bank, Allahabad Bank, United Bank of India, and various other corporate clienteles. He has also, to his credit, a number of reported cases in which he has appeared, which we will give in our YouTube description in the after we complete this particular interview session. So I, Devasis Kumar Panda, on behalf of Team Lex Cognoscenti, welcome you, sir. We are really fortunate to have you today's evening for this particular interview, and we are really eager to know a lot of things about your life story, about your childhood, law school days, and how you come to join this particular legal profession, and how you were doing well, I must say very well, in this particular legal field. So, with your due permission, I would like to begin with this particular session.
Thank you. Thank you, Devashish. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to you.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, beginning with the very basic question that we ask to all of our interviewees, that is regarding your childhood, your family background, your upbringing, schooling days, and till how you come to join law school.
I was born and brought up in Cuttack. I was very fortunate being born in a family where it has been a joint family, and we have grown up in the midst of many members in the family. So it has been always a busy life for us, and it was a privilege. I would say that I had a privileged childhood, got the best of education, the best, all the whatever we fancied were provided for by our parents. So that way I was very, very privileged and blessed. And my education throughout has been in Cuttack. I initially I did my ICSE from Stuart School in Cuttack, thereafter in Ravenshaw, Stuart Science College, and ultimately thereafter I went in for law. So that has been my journey. It was, but I am a thoroughbred Katki.
Now, sir, this brings me to ask you a question related to your law school. So,
Mhm.
in which law school you have studied, and how was your law school days in your alma mater?
Before I say that, let me put this on record. Initially, as it happens amongst most youngsters, I was also confused as to what I should be doing with my career. Like I said, that since everything was provided for, I never thought that I had to earn a livelihood on my own. And thereafter, when I realized that no, I have to do something, uh, I had more or less made up my management mind that I would initially go in for engineering because my mother wanted me to be an engineer. But that was something I could not succeed in. I was not accepted in any of the engineering examinations that I had taken. Thereafter, it dawned upon me that if not engineering, let me go into management, MBA. Studied a little for that, and I was accepted during my just post my graduation. I was accepted in a very premier management institute. But when I got this opportunity, my father, who was a lawyer, he had perhaps the first serious conversation with me with regard to my career. And he said that, why do you want to go in for management? What has prompted you to take this decision? I said that I'll earn a good livelihood, have a good life. Those are basically the things that come to a youngster's mind. So then he told me that, look here, if you go into management, you may rise to become the chairman of a company. But if you were to come into the legal profession, the sky is the limit. So this is the statement made by this is what my father said, which really tilted the balance, and that was for the first time that I started seriously looking at this profession. And I took admission. Uh, by that time, the admission for MS Law College had been closed, and I took admission in the Law College. But even though I got took admission in the college, I seldom went to attend classes. The reason being that at that point of time, I started attending my father's office. And that was not only going to court along with him, but I also used to be in his office, assist him in his work, take his dictation, be involved with his other associates. I somehow found it to be very interesting, challenging, and I got immersed in this profession, and that was how I got yeah. So I used to go to college basically to take my examinations, but beyond that, I unfortunately I would say because campus gives you a different flavor, but I did not have that because I was in the profession by then, more as an apprentice than anything else. So that was it. That was my journey into law college, and I completed my law in 1989. And soon thereafter, I enrolled in the bar.
So now, as you said that your father inspired you to take up law as your career, and after that you have joined college, and side by side you were looking after his chamber and helping him with his works, and you have joined bar in 1989. So how was your initial days at the bar?
My initial days, like I said, when I was doing my graduation, I was already going to the bar, I mean, going to as an apprentice. So the court atmosphere as such, the bar association hall, the canteens, the lawyers, everybody was familiar to me because for those 3 years since I was regularly going, Uh, and my to my advantage, I had I was the son of a very illustrious lawyer at that point of time. So obviously, I gained access to the courts and everything. Around the whatever was there to be offered with regard to the court premises, I had a knowledge or I had an experience of that even before I was enrolled, even before I was given my robes. So uh, by the time I was enrolled in the bar, by that time I was ready to go to war.
So, sir, as you said that you are quite familiar with the system of our High Court and you are quite regular with the courts and its procedures and you are well aware of all that thing. So, I would like to ask that whether you were nervous in the first case in which you have appeared and argued, or what was the circumstances of yours at that time.
Uh, when I enrolled in the bar, uh, my father was the government advocate at that point of time. And there was a case in our office uh, of a very old client of his, very old client of his. So, and it was against the state government. So, since my father was the government advocate, he called upon the client. He called the client, informed him that I will not be able to appear in this matter since I'm the government advocate. You please engage some other counsel. So this man who used to come to our office very regularly, he looked at me and said that आपका बेटा तो आ गया है प्रोफेशन में उनको करने दीजिए कि ये केस आई डोंट वांट टू टेक दिस केस टू एनी अदर so and this was hardly 15 days of my coming in being enrolled as a lawyer. So my father said that since the client has reposed that much of confidence in you, you have to do justice. You study the brief. Of course, with his guidance and the guidance of Miss Meera Ghosh, who was also associate at that point of time to my father. With their assistance, I prepared the case and I argued it. I remember the date, it was the 14th of December. I enrolled in the bar on the 26th of November 89. And on the 14th of December, I argued my first matter before a division bench of Justice G.B. Patnaik and Mrs. Padi. And it so happened that we succeeded in that matter. And it's a reported judgment in the All India Reporter. So that was how I came into this profession.
So, sir, it's now you said that you have appeared in the first case of your career in the very day of a fortnight of joining the bar. So, I would like to know that were there any interesting conversations or interactions between you and the bench, or you and the opposite party, or any remarkable or humorous or witty conversation which you can share with us, as you have like almost practiced for 3 decades by now?
Well, there have been many instances of repartee from either side of the bar and the bench to which I have been witness to. But it's very difficult to single out any one instance as such. Uh, I do remember having seen some very some legal luminaries and the way they carried the court with them. that was not only but one could really it was. I found it at that point of time because I understood very little of what was transpiring in the arguments at the for the initial days of my life. But what I could make out was that the profession was all encompassing because in one occasion I had the privilege of watching Mr. Parasaran, the erstwhile Attorney General of our country. He was arguing one matter and he was reciting Sanskrit slokas. Sanskrit slokas, he went on to make his point. And after reciting every sloka, which obviously the judges who were presiding, they obviously they could not make out everything of what was being recited. So he used to explain every line after that. There's another instance which I have heard from a person who was present at the hearing of great Mr. Ashok Sen. Mr. Ashok Sen was once addressing a matter in the Supreme Court, and where he was representing a builder who had permission to construct 6 floors and had constructed 8 floors. And there was an order of demolition for the 7th and 8th floor. The builder, in his audacity, despite the order of demolition, went on to construct the 9th, 10th, and 11th floor. The case was in the court. The Calcutta High Court dismissed the matter, and then the matter went to Supreme Court. So the person who was narrating this to me, he said that we had gone to brief Mr. Ashok Sen, and they went to his office. They were met by his secretary. The secretary said that you give the file. Mr. Sen will study the brief. So they, in their anxiety, they wanted a conference. They did not get it. So they said that should we come back tomorrow morning? No, you should. You proceed to the court. You'll meet Mr. Sen in the court. In their anxiety, they came back to the office of Mr. Sen and they found the brief as it was. Even it had not been opened. It appeared to them that it had not been opened. Anyway, since Mr. Sen had been engaged, these people were in the visitors' gallery. They were waiting for the case to be taken up. It was a 3-judge bench. So when the case was called, the judges started in a very fiery manner that what your client thinks he can take things for granted, etc. He had, despite the permission he has constructed, he has made illegal construction. It has to go. So Mr. Sen was trying to argue that the order of demolition is in respect of 2 floors and something he was saying, but the judges were not inclined. So this person who was the client's representative, he was very crestfallen. He almost hung his head and was waiting for the axe to fall to hear the order of dismissal. But sometimes into the argument, he realized that the judges were silent and Mr. Sen was arguing. And what was he arguing? He was quoting Macbeth. He was quoting Macbeth. Shylock. Macbeth. Shylock. So he was arguing from Shakespeare, and he was saying that you can have demolish the 7th and 8th floor because there is an order of demolition in respect of that, but you can't take away the rest of the floors. You can have my flesh but no blood. That was the logic he argued, and I do not know because the client was also not a legal person, ultimately he came back very happy because there was a order of demolition only in respect of the 10th and 11th floor. So the client ultimately had 6 floors. In the bargain, when having gone up to Supreme Court and engaged Mr. Sen, he got 9 floors. So these are lawyers who can turn things around any time. Similarly, there have been many instances which one gets to hear, but would be very difficult to go through them one by one. But yes, there are certain judges who enliven the court proceedings by their wit, humor, and it's a pleasure always to appear in their courts. But that breed is fast disappearing. And as far as lawyers are concerned, from this side of the bar, one seldom gets to see that wit and humor because sometimes they're misunderstood. So that is a genre which is disappearing now, wit and humor from the courtrooms.
That's an interesting anecdote that you have given us regarding Ashok Sen, sir. So, sir, now this brings me to ask you a question related to who were the legends of the bar when you joined this profession. As you named a few, Ashok Sen, sir, and then uh, indeed, sir, there must be
Yeah,
many legends. So, if you can
yeah.
tell something about them.
I have been very lucky to uh, watch very big lawyers. Like I said, I had the privilege of seeing Mr. Parasharan. Uh, Similarly, Mr. Sen also had seen in the Supreme Court, also in our own High Court. I've seen Mr. Venugopal arguing, seen Mr. Salve arguing, Mr. Mukherji arguing. Of the yesteryears, Mr. Sanghi used to be a very good lawyer when I was quite Mr. Rao, P.P. Rao. These and from our own High Court, uh, Mr. Ranjit Mahanti, Mr. Biren Patnaik, Mr. Prabir Palit. Uh, I am very lucky to have seen them in their best days when they used to argue and hold the court in awe. The courts were in awe when they were on their feet, in their best elements. It was wonderful.
Sir, even we have heard from a number of speakers about your father, Mr. Asoke Mukherji,
Mm.
regarding his witty and uh, eminent arguments before the court. So we would like to know more about him as you are directly related to him and you can give us more anecdotes or more peculiar or interesting facts about him.
One thing which comes to mind instantly is uh, my father, whenever a client used to come and entrust a brief to him, they would ask him that, what are my chances of succeeding? My father would say that yes, you have an arguable case. It's worth giving it a try. And let us see. Then the client would insist that, sir, is there a guarantee that I'm going to win? And my father used to give a very interesting answer to to those clients, which I also followed. And the answer used to be that this guarantee can be given by three persons. The first person is the God Almighty. The second is the judge himself who is going to give the order. And third is a touter. So do you want me to be categorized in that category? If not, then there is nobody else in the world who can give you a guarantee. And I have also followed the same thing. I also never say, howsoever good the case may be, I usually never tell the client that you are going to win this case 100%.
Indeed, sir. That is an another anecdote, or rather, I would say, an interesting fact about your father, who was also a legend of the bar at that time. So now, as I have completed the number of questions that I had with me, so I would like to call upon Jyoti Prakash to join in the studio, and I would request him to continue with the further questions that he has with him. And I would request our viewers to stay tuned with Jyoti Prakash and our eminent guest of today's evening, Gautam sir. It would be an interesting conversation between them, and you will all surely enjoy this particular. So over to you, Jyoti Prakash.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Devasis.
Devashish. Good evening, Jyoti.
Good evening, sir. It was really enlightening to hear you. And Devasis, you have posed really nice questions, and sir has really answered them very well. So, sir, with your permission, I would like to begin the second session.
Right, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as you have explained about the legends of the bar, Devasis has posed several questions. You explained about your father as well as other legends of the bar. We now want to know about the legends of the bench. It is very difficult to answer, we know, but still, if you will be asked to answer this particular question as who were the most prominent members of the bench, then what will be your answer?
Well, the first person who comes to mind from the time I joined the bar uh, was with Justice R.C. Patnaik. His ready wit, his sharp mind, and his knowledge of the law, the way he used to handle the court was something that though I had the misfortune of seeing very little of him, but he's the first person who comes to my mind as a illustrious judge. Many, in fact, in the old times, Justice P.C. Mishra, Justice G.B. Patnaik, Justice D.P. Mahapatra, Justice Lingaraj Rath, uh, Justice S.C. Mahapatra, you used to learn every time you were in his court, even sitting there waiting for your case to reach. The way he used to rub the lawyers, posing questions on the various facets of law, you learned a lot. And Justice after them came the time of Justice Ananga Patnaik, a really large-hearted judge, one of the best I've seen. Justice Pasat, very sharp, very fast. Justice P.K. Mishra, unfortunately, Odisha lost the better part of his judgeship. Another wonderful judge that I come across. So there have been many really good judges that I've had the privilege of appearing before.
Absolutely, sir. You have rightly named Justice G.B. Patnaik, Justice Arjit Vasayat, and Justice R.C. Patnaik. Absolutely, he was an eminent judge, and we have learned about his anecdotes and his stories that he was in the Supreme Court and he was here in Cuttack, Bhubaneswar when he met with an accident and died. Otherwise, you would have been a very senior most judge in the Supreme Court itself. Indeed, sir. It is
We really lost a wonderful judge in him.
indeed, sir. It is really unfortunate to lose a judge like him. And after that, sir, as we know that you made your breakthrough really very soon, and it was not a very challenging job for you in this profession. Still, if you will be asked to answer this particular question as to what are the most grueling challenges you faced, what are the most greatest challenges you faced in this profession relating to anything, then what will be your answer, sir?
Uh, One thing which, well, even though I came from a law background, I came from a privileged family, but one thing I learned very fast is that I could never take things for granted. If I had to survive in the profession and prove my mark, I had to work for it and be uh, committed to the profession. And by commitment to the profession, I'll just give one instance which uh, I'll share now. This was in the first year of my joining the bar. Uh, it was in Justice Lingaraj Rath's court. So, and it was about 4:15. 4:15, the court rises. So what I did was, well, since the court hours were almost, no, it was about 4. It had not, the court rising was about 10-15 minutes later. So I had finished my work, but my father was on his feet in Justice Lingaraj Rath's court. He was arguing a matter. So I was waiting for him because we used to go to court together and come back together. I was waiting for my father. So what I did was, it was summer. So I took off my coat and gown, and with a white shirt, I went and sat in the visitor's chair in the courtroom, waiting for my father to finish his case and we would come back home. A few sentences into his argument, suddenly Justice Rath started looking over my father's head to the back benches. And then remarked in the court that it appears that Junior Mr. Mukherji is feeling very hot. Perhaps he cannot take the heat of this profession. So it came as a rude shock to me. My father turned around, he saw me, and he said that you go out, and he signaled to me to go out. So, and I was later on next day, my father informed me that Justice Rath wanted to meet me in his chambers during lunch hours on the next day. So I was called and I went to his chambers, and that as long as you are there in the court, you are to be fully robed. Don't come to the court as a commoner. So that is, it's a very small thing. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with becoming a lawyer, but these are things, these are values that get inculcated very early on in life, and it takes you a long way. So struggles, yes, struggles have been there. It's not that everything has come on a platter. Yes, I have been privileged. I have had an advantage over my contemporaries in coming into the profession, but if I have survived, I have had to work hard for that, and I have worked hard.
Indubitably, sir. You have very worked hard and you have sustained your identity in this profession. And you have given a very important message to all the lawyers and all the budding lawyers who are listening to us today, that we have to maintain ourselves before the honorable courts and we cannot just afford to be informal before the honorable courts. So, indeed,
You
it
have to
was a
maintain
great.
the dignity of the profession. What I meant to say was you need to maintain the dignity of the profession.
Indeed, sir, indeed. And, sir, after knowing this, I would like to ask you another question. Ashti, you were a law graduate in the 80s, and now the world has changed and the legal education has changed. So, what all the important differences you feel in this legal education? And do you think that the case law method should be reintroduced in the law schools? And whether the senior advocates should be introduced in the law school to give guest lectures?
Uh, Answering of the first part of your question first, uh, a lot of changes have taken place, as you have mentioned, and today a young lawyer who enters the bar is much better equipped than he used to be in my days to face the court, to face the challenges of the profession. He's a much better equipped person. In our days, we, due to our own negligence or because of the surrounding circumstances, we came into the profession as novices. But today, when a lawyer enters the bar, he gets enrolled, he's already equipped to a great extent to face the challenges. He's much better prepared. Not only that, he also has learned to a certain extent the ropes that he needs to traverse or climb. Because law training today, as it is happening, uh, instills a discipline of research, which is very, very important in this profession. And today's young law graduates are much better equipped than we were in doing that. Of course, uh, technology has played a big part in that. Everything is now on the fingertips. But even then, a graduate today is much better equipped to face than we were. And as far as the second part of the question is concerned, whether senior advocates or why senior advocates, experienced advocates should be invited to law colleges, yes, definitely, because they should share their experiences with the law students and make them better equipped to face if they are, and perhaps their interaction with the students would inspire more people to come into litigation than is presently happening. Because what you find today is many young law graduates are being weaned away by the looser of money and by more security in the corporate setup. So very good law students are lost to the profession in the process.
Undoubtedly, sir. And sir, after that, I want to know from you what is the importance of judgment reading in legal profession? We are always taught that judgment reading is not separable to this profession, and we have to be very updated with all the legal developments that takes place in our country. So, what is your take on that?
See, today the volume of judgments that are coming in on a day-to-day basis, it's Herculean for any law graduate to keep cope up with them. But there are certain tools which have come in, like live law and there are other such tools which have come in. At least if a law student interested in litigation keeps himself updated with what is happening in different courts and the Supreme Court on a day-to-day basis by at least seeing the notes in the live law, he would be much better equipped, because judgments do play a very important part in finally deciding a case. You are backed with an authority, you are better equipped to fight the litigation. You can prepare your case better if you are backed with authority. So judgments do play a good part in litigation, definitely.
Indeed, sir. And sir, after that, there is a very existing doubt among the students that how to do exhaustive research for any topic that you have been. Sir, am I audible?
But I lost you in between. Could you please come again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sure.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. So, sir, there is a doubt among the students that it is very much difficult to do exhaustive research for a particular given case. And you have been an advocate for several years now. How you do exhaustive research for a particular case? What is the method for doing exhaustive research, and then how to proceed with the drafting?
As far as drafting is concerned, before you sit to draft, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is have your facts clear and put them in the proper chronology. That is where a list of dates becomes a sine qua non for developing any case. You have to have your facts correct and clear. Once you have the facts very clearly, you would know what law comes into play or what would be, because law is nothing but common sense. If something is wrong, you will, once you prepare the facts, place the facts in seriatim, you will know where things have gone wrong. And once you realize that, thereafter go into law. One of the difficulties that we face today is that people are more oriented in going in for judgments first. No, judgments can be gone into, but first of all, you need to have your facts clear. You prepare the facts, the law will follow it. If you have been wronged, there is some law which backs you up.
Absolutely, sir. It is always said that one has to be master of the facts first, and then he has to apply the law to the given circumstances and given facts. That is a great advice, sir. And sir, as we know, nowadays we have moot courts, trial advocacies, and all such competitions. So, did you have the competition during your time?
So in our day, moot court in
Yes.
our days, no. We never had, frankly, I was unfortunate. I never had the opportunity of being in a moot court. As a judge, yes, but not arguing. I definitely believe that had I had I had the opportunity, maybe I would have come into the profession better equipped.
So, do you believe that these courses are very much essential for nowadays for the students, and whether it is really helping the students to be a better litigating attorney?
Certainly, it is. You There are, we see lawyers, very knowledgeable lawyers, uh, but they fail in expressing themselves in court. So even if you know, how you express it is also very important for being a competent lawyer. We find that there are many people who are very, very knowledgeable in law, but somehow expression becomes lacking, and sometimes, not always, sometimes the case becomes a casualty for the public. So when you are trained to speak what you prepare, you are definitely a better lawyer. You at least don't uh, do it at the expense of your client.
Indeed, sir. That is a great point that we cannot just afford to uh, make our case of the client weak just to learn something, and we should learn it beforehand itself. So, sir, after dealing with this particular aspect, I want to know uh, is it very much important for a junior to join a chamber of senior, or whether he can also go on his own and there is no need to join any senior chamber?
I personally feel that it is very important that a young new lawyer, new entrant to the profession joins an office, an existing law office, and has an experience there before he starts doing something very independently. He has to have some amount of exposure, experience before he can really take up a brief and be entrusted with the responsibility of handling a matter. So it is very important that he is trained before he does that. He has some exposure before he does that.
That's a great input, sir. Sir, as we know that seniors take juniors. So, what are the most important qualities the seniors see while hiring the juniors in their chamber?
See, this uh, see, in a place like Cuttack, we do not really have the culture of screening a junior before taking him into an office. We do not have that culture in Cuttack. Here, somebody refers you, somebody is referred, all right, come in. So, come in, join the work, and then he is tested whether how useful he is to the office in research, in helping his senior, in doing handling situations. If he makes himself very useful, obviously the senior would definitely like to retain him. But if the senior finds that the junior is not interested in the profession, is just doing it as a routine, he's just because he's in the profession and he has to join an office, he has joined an office, and perhaps expects something to be given at the end of the month as a stipend. Those over a period of time they get shaken off and they get eliminated. So you will find that even though every year about if 100 new graduates are coming in, ultimately a very small percentage stays on in the profession going forward. They will get weeded out.
Very right, sir. And sir, it is now very often seen that, especially after the advent of the national law universities, it is very often seen that students are very keen to have a specialized area of law. Even before joining this particular profession, they have a penchant to have a specialization in a particular area, and national law universities are there to give them a specialized knowledge in a particular area of law. So, do you think that one should have a specialization even before joining this profession, or a junior should accept all kind of briefs, whatever comes his way?
See, like I told you that a junior should not he while studying he would realize where his penchant is or where his liking is, whether if it is taxation he should go to a taxation office, if it is in civil law he should go to a civil law lawyer's office, if it is criminal law he should go to a criminal lawyer's office. Now, having said that, it is when I just taking up cases for the purpose of earning your without having a clue as to how you handle it, that would be a very dangerous trend. So if you are trained in a particular office, obviously you gather some experience in that branch of law. Specialization, now coming to specialization, now today trade and commerce is moving very fast and people have become more conscious of their rights. Different aspects of law are now being put forth, being tested, being put into use. So specialization in a place like Odisha today may not look very attractive, but a few years down the line, yes, definitely, because you will be having a lot of commercial litigations. You will be having litigations in trademarks, in um, artificial intelligence. All these things are coming up in a big way. So, and for handling cases on these issues, if you have the specialization, you would definitely be a step ahead. It's not that something you cannot learn later on in profession, but if you have the specialization, you are better equipped to pursue your, if you know what you want to do in your life.
Very opposite, sir. Very opposite, sir. And sir, after that, as we know, that clients are the most important persons in the life of a lawyer, and one lawyer should know the skill to handle them and counsel them. So, what are the most important skills a lawyer should possess to counsel a particular set of clients? So, what you particularly do in this particular matter?
Listening to the client. Listening to the client is very important. You have to be very patient, very, uh, he may be garrulous because it is he who has suffered the setback. He may be very garrulous, he may say things which are not necessary, but you need to give him a very patient hearing. If you don't give him a patient hearing, he cannot have trust in you. And the first thing as a lawyer that you require is the client's trust. So, the first thing that you need to learn as a lawyer while handling a client is that you need to listen to them. He may say things which are not relevant. He may say things, show you papers which are not relevant. He may also dwell into certain aspects of law, saying that so and so High Court has decided in this manner, so and so judgment has been delivered in a case of this nature. He may come with all that, but be patient. Listen to him. Have your facts very clearly, and thereafter you will find a solution to it. If you give the client a patient hearing, you have won his trust to a great extent. And that is most important.
You have emphasized a particular skill in this particular conversation, that a lawyer should be a good listener, not only a good orator or a good debater, but also a good listener. And this particular skill comes into handy in this kind of conversation with clients. So I think it will be very much helpful to all the lawyers who are watching us today. They have to be great listeners. And sir, after that, one important question comes to my mind. If you will be assigned a particular case which is not morally conducive to your values, which is morally opposed to your values, so what will be your approach to that case? Whether you will reject it or you will accept that case?
Given a choice, I would definitely like to reject it, but that is not always the case. Now, one thing which I have learned in this profession is that a lawyer should never be attached to his client brief. You need to have a sense of detachment. Like they say, a doctor does not operate upon his own children. So, if you are attached to something, you tend to become emotional. And the moment you become emotional, reason leads you. And if reason leads you, you'll be failing in your brief. So, as a lawyer, another quality that you need to cultivate is detachment to the case. You should never personally identify yourself either with the client or the brief. Once the brief is given, you study it, give your best to it, The rest is left to the court and the luck of the client. You should not be personally attached.
Great advice, sir. We have to cultivate the skill of detachment from our cases and from our clients. And sir, after that,
So
as we have
answering
discussed
your
other
question,
aspects of advocacy,
answering your question. So even if it is
yes,
against my ethics, not ethics, sorry, I'm using the wrong word. Even it is against, I feel moral that whatever the brief I'm holding is, I will give it my best shot if I have to. But that doesn't change because I'm a lawyer after all. At the end of the day, I have to, I'm representing my client. It is his brief that I'm carrying to the court. I'll deliver it to the best of my ability. That's it. Sorry. Now you can continue.
indeed, sir, we have to cultivate a sense of detachment and we have to give our best, and rest should be left to the honorable courts. That's a great advice, sir. And sir, as we have discussed about several traits and skills of a lawyer, you have discussed about researching, judgment reading, drafting. So, after all, what are the most important skills a litigating counsel must possess in this profession? Do you think there is a particular set of skills which is sine qua non for all the litigating counsels to sustain their practice in this profession?
Well, like I said, that first of all, you need to be a good listener. That's the first thing that you need to be. Second is that as a lawyer, you need to understand and scrupulously follow as to what to speak, when to speak, and most importantly, when to stop. These are things that, as a lawyer, are absolutely important because if you don't follow this, you'll be doing harm to your client.
Indeed, sir. We have to be assiduous, we have to be hardworking, but we should always know what are the court traps and we should know when to address the court and when should we stop our argument. So after that, sir, I want to ask you another aspect of your life. It is not relating to law. I want to know what especially you do in your pastimes and what are your hobbies except reading law books or dealing with cases.
My passion is traveling. I love to visit and see places around, see their culture, have their food. That is uh, passion when it goes beyond interest. It's a passion to travel. That is I enjoy what I enjoy the most. Next is reading. I read books, whatever I can lay my hands on, be it a thriller, be it autobiography, be it a historical novel. I enjoy reading all kinds of books. That is another interest which I have. And thirdly, my interest is, though I am not much of a gardener, but I love a good garden. So that is another interest. And of course, food. Like you just have to see me to know that I'm a foodie.
Yes, sir. You have all-round interest, and you mentioned that you also read autobiographies. So, sir, do you think autobiography and biographies are very much important for lawyers? It is said that lawyer cannot only know about law; he should be expert about all other facets of knowledge like history, culture, and even the autobiographies and the stories of other legends. So, what is your view on that?
See, law is an ocean. Law is an ocean. It is all encompassing. You tomorrow for a case, you may need to read science. You may need to read geography. You may need to read physics. You may need to read medicine. So, as a lawyer, it is all encompassing. Depending upon a particular case, you need to have study various facets of that is one part of it. Second is as far as autobiographies go, yes, they are important in the sense that sometimes they do inspire you to do certain things. Those persons having done those things had risen to those levels. So you may find that to be very inspiring. It could trigger some kind of a inspiration in you. So it is important that you know about the like the celebrated book Roses in December by Justice Justice MC Chagla, Mr. Hidayatullah's, Justice Khanna's. These are autobiographies that should be read by all law students. They're really inspiring. They can mold your character to a great extent.
Undoubtedly, sir. They leaves a very lasting imprint on our career, our character. And even I can also personally say that before introducing this interview series, we had gone through several autobiographies, and we found it very fascinating. And we have particularly read the stories of Judge Gadbois, who came to India and took several interviews of several jurists, and especially the judges of the Supreme Court. So it inspired us to take interviews of legends like you, who are considered as inspiration for the younger generations like us. So, sir, before starting with this particular interview, I would like to ask you another one question. Sir, if you will be given a chance to go back to your law college, then am I audible?
Sorry, I didn't get you. As a
Yes,
last,
yes, sir.
oh,
Sir, I have a last question for you. So, if you will be given a chance to go back to your law college, do you have any regret that you couldn't do something? And if you will be given another chance, you will go and you'll pursue that particular thing for sure.
see, like I said at the beginning of the this session, I was partially by choice and partially by circumstances did not have a law college life. Given a chance today, definitely the kind of campuses, law campuses which have come up in the country, I would definitely like to be a part of that. And I would certainly love to go back there, given a chance.
That's a fascinating answer. Indeed, the campuses of law universities become very much developed, and we have several kind of facilities, like not only regarding the accommodation, but also regarding research facilities like SCC Online and all of these facilities we have in our campuses, especially in the national law schools. So it is
But
very
most
fascinating.
important, neither the library nor the facilities are important. What is important is the camaraderie that you develop being amongst like-minded person in a particular place. That is very important, and that is what I miss. Otherwise, library you can have it elsewhere, facilities you can have at home, but nothing could replace the life of a campus because that gives you a flavor which is not available in either of the places. So that is why a campus life is important.
Indubitably, sir, because companions play a very vital role in shaping our character and our direction of life. So it is always said that our character is shaped in the same way as our companions go in a particular way. So that is a very great advice, and it also focuses on another part that we have to be very careful while choosing our companions in our law school, because it may be misleading sometimes, and we may land up in any particular situation which is not very uh, uh, advisable. So that was a great advice. And sir, we have discussed almost every aspects of your life. Like we discussed how was your childhood days and how you came to this legal profession. How was your college days? And after that, how was your first case? And after that, you also discussed about several legends of the bar and the bench. And you also given several advices as to how to draft and how to handle several clients. And all those things were very fascinating and very knowledgeable things, and we appreciate that a lot. And it was really an honor for us to have you in this particular session. And we are indebted that you consented for this session and uh, and agreed to join and to share your knowledge, experience with us, because all those experiences are really very much valuable that we will use in our latter stage of life when we join in this profession. So, sir, we are very much indebted, and I will definitely request Devasish to give a few words for the vote of thanks to our honorable sir. Devasish, please.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, Jyoti Prakash, for asking quite a number of relevant questions, and sir has given their answers in a very well manner. And with that, I would like to say that it will surely help me, Jyoti Prakash, and a lot of law students and young legal professionals who are viewing this particular interview session. So, as we have come to the end of this interview session, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks on behalf of Team Lex Cognoscenti and Jyoti Prakash Datta to you, sir, for consenting to this particular interview. We are really, really privileged to have you, and you have given a lot of inputs and a lot of informations, lot of pointers which should be adhered to by the law students and young legal professionals for their successful career. So we are really obliged, we are really privileged to have you today's evening. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on board.
It has
Thank
been
you,
my
sir.
pleasure, and it has been a good experience spending the evening with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We wish perennial health and prosperity for all days to come.
Thank you. Same to you all.
Thank you, sir.